Really, no. If you're trying to leverage Revelation 3:9 to try to demonize Jewish folks today, then you are neither a thoughtful nor a competent reader of your Bible. You're just trying to leverage this as a proof text to authorize and validate your ignorant bigotry. Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 were attempts by the author of the book of Revelation to demonize Jewish folks. They were accusing of collaborating with Romans to try to persecute and suppress Christian communities at the end of the 1st century CE.
There's no conclusive evidence anywhere that states that was the purpose of this verse, was to just blame everything on Jews. It could have even been about Judaizing Christians and apologetic disagreements and fights between the Christians and the Jews at the time. That's 2:9 to 3:9. 3:9 is a verse about the conversion of Jews or Judaizers to Christianity. They're also referencing the rejection of the Messiah and Christ's use of the word of who their father was for rejecting what the religion was supposed to be about, devouring the houses of widows and all this, making false oaths and contracts that people could reject and get out of, and screw people over very badly. So this is a religious disagreement here. And to say it's immediately off limits to get into these disagreements, well, you're not very objective, because you claim this objective superiority because you take a more materialistic viewpoint on the Bible and use critical theory, but you have your own double standard and bigotry here, where you can be anti, the indigenous people right now at the time of our society, right? The normative majority. You can put out all kinds of shit against them with the kind of revolutionary calls you've put out elsewhere, right? I don't see any calls to stop that kind of, racism and bigotry and demonizing people and blaming everything on the world for them, while you call for a violent revolution. So I think you have a double standard. I don't think you're very objective. I think you're appealing to political correctness right here. And you have this verse wrong, and you're superimposing some Elaine Pagels type of, feminist garbage that doesn't even have any conclusive, evidence in academia. I want to see it. Let's see it.
There is no such figure as the Antichrist anywhere in the book of Revelation. The word Antichrist is used in the epistles of John, but as an adjective to describe anyone who is opposed to Jesus.
We know in John 1 what it says about the Antichrist. He even goes as far as to say they came from us. In Revelation, it also speaks, and the works of John, of a spirit of Antichrist in the world, as well as a genuine article. It is implicit in Revelation 13 through 17 that there will be a final beast system for all nations of the earth, and the final king of all these nations who was against God will be the Antichrist. And that's how it is exegeted throughout the entire church that canonized this book. We don't believe in sola scriptura. That is the context of this book right here, is that there will be a final Antichrist. However, there are many Antichrists, and they came initially actually from the church, from those who deny the Father and the Son. You would be considered an Antichrist. Marx would be considered an Antichrist. Your Jürgen Habermas and all this critical theory that's fusing with your liberalism is an Antichrist theory, just as is Benjamin Netanyahu when he says that the old Messiah wasn't real, and now he's going to fulfill Isaiah and wipe out Amalek and wipe out the people of darkness, which I don't really see a lot of time spent. If you're going to blame all these wars on religion, I don't see you spending a lot of time addressing that. It seems like you have a double standard. Maybe you don't want to, do any criticism in that direction because it violates the woke hierarchy you have of what can and cannot be criticized. It seems like if you wanted to stop, G-side over in the Middle East, you could address the fact that it doesn't truck without Christian Zionism, and this is an actual violation of Christian theology, since you always want to tell us that we don't even know our own Bible and tradition, right? You could point that out. It seems like the CIA has spent a good deal of time and energy working with evangelicals, and so have the Neoconservative Party. You don't seem to want to address that or liberal left-wing support of this war. It seems like all your anti-war left has kind of betrayed you, doesn't it, when the Democrat Party has gone in lockstep with the right and all these neocons and all these evangelicals who think they have the right to bring about the revelation and escape the tribulations. It seems like we have a right to actually address this both on a political and a theological level. But maybe you would prefer to have that to lampoon and caricature and say that all wars are caused by Christianity and belief in God, even though it seems like your secular world And the liberal world order is kind of involved in this war, right? The exegesis on the tribe of Dan, it does not say that the Antichrist will be of the tribe of Dan. It's saying that when people are going to be caught up to heaven, Dan is missing when God judges the world. And this is because Dan is synonymous, who is the judge of Judah in Genesis 49. And we can also look at Judges 18, Jeremiah 8. What's happening here is that Dan is exegetically seen as a symbol of the tribe that forsook God and went out to go out by their own might, conquering everybody, and they mixed with the world. They came and mixed with the Assyrians, and the Assyrians judged Judah. This is symbolic of the world against Christ. It's Christ or the world. It's the same kind of idea you'll see in Augustine with the city of man and the city of God. And you can see this kind of theme as early as Genesis. To say that there's no coherent logic and concept and pattern, an exegetical and typological pattern here, and it's only the rhetoric of the time, well, that's an assertion, and you would have to cut out that type of thinking. You would have to cut out the entire concept that's being appealed to. And you can't really do that. If you violate the concept enough, you're no longer Christian. You could say if you violate the concept enough, you're not even a certain type of Christian, but there's a certain family tree we could call Christians, right? There's a certain family tree we could call Jews. There's a certain family tree we could call Gnostics or Muslims. And the difference is within our minor. To say that there's no concept that's being appealed to, and to also assert the atheist position you don't actually have evidence or disproof of, that we don't have to actually weigh this ontological possibility or symbolic possibilities and psychological possibilities, is the limit of your method. And it shows the bias and dogma of kind of sticking to your critical method and never even weighing what the people actually believed, and acting so arrogantly to think that the people who actually held this belief and thought these things out that you yourself call an intellectual movement didn't know anything about their own tradition or what they were talking about or what was going on at the time, and just assert your modern anachronistic interpretation from critical theory to tell everybody that they're too stupid to know anything if they believe in any of this or see a recurrent pattern. You yourself have said this is a recurrent pattern.